can be now.
You know what really makes us mad is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
Yeah, we got this CD called Punk. It's loaded with our favorite tunes, man.
Yeah.
Just listen.
She is founder of a group called Parents of Punkers. This is literally an organization of parents who looked up and suddenly their kids had purple hair.
What they want, I don't know. Stand at the crossroads. I touch the flag of right.
And even further back than that, one can hear it in the music and you can see it in the photos. The first punk himself, Woody Guthrie.
She rose from her blanket with a gun in each hand. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Honey, lay off them shoes and don't you step on my blue suede shoe.
Johnny Cash was a total punk, playing where he wanted, when he wanted, and how he wanted, refusing to compromise anything about himself for the sake of his record label.
I keep the ends out for the tie that binds, because you're mine, I walk the line.
Tell me, where did you sleep last night? Gone like a cool. I will follow you. I brought a wheel.
Every generation has its own group of people who march to the beat of a different drummer. In the 50s, it was the beatniks. In the 60s, it was the hippies. Today, it is the punk rockers. Now, I guess we've all seen them at one time or another. The spiked orange hair, the lethal-looking jewelry, lots of leather. This morning, we've invited 5 punk rockers to come here and explain and tell us why they are the way they are.
Oh, well, I love you, gal, yes, I love you, Peggy Sue.
He's my baby. He's a wildcat.
Come on, everybody.
But you know, in the 50s, the beatniks, even though it's like you're revolting against something, perhaps, there still is a conformity. You can see that you all basically have things in common. You do look alike. How can you say that it's an individual expression when there truly are? Your hair is basically the same and you have tattoos and things.
I don't have any tattoos.
Don't you wanna go? All night long, rain all day, rain all night, rain, 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 rain.
Hey, these bands have sex appeal. They have their own look now. I mean, you can't say someone like him isn't good looking, you know what I mean?
Let's go! Where's your little mind? Where's my love you? Got a chance at last. Do the things we wanna do. Don't hesitate, I can't wait. Love me.
But will you love me tomorrow?
Here's how I define punk. It's a free space. It's just a free space. It could be called jazz. It could be called hip-hop. It could be called blues or rock or beat. It could be called techno. It's just a new idea.
Well, I never seen a dolly and quite so much. Fever and Billy and all of that.
Will you like this? The Peppermint Twist.
Palisades Park, having fun. Let's see what I could see.
Culture, it changed my attitude towards what was possible, and I think I learned to go against the system a little bit.
On here, serving USA. Where they want, and I want.
Little boxes, little boxes.
In some ways, maybe it should die, because then it could be reborn, but I think we're reached the point where there's always going to be punk in some way. I mean, the sound of punk and the look of punk is not necessarily part of it anymore. I mean, boy bands look like Johnny Rotten or Sid Vicious, and pop punk bands sound like boy bands.
You got me going, you got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I guess it's midnight.
We all ended up getting labeled because people have, in society, they have to classify you. They have to put you in a category because they have to explain you. If they can't explain you, then people start getting nervous. What are these kids up to? What's going on with them?
Youth has always had a way of trying something different. Flappers in the 1920s, Elvis in the 1950s.
Rock and roll has got to go.
Well, your life, you do everything and more, and that's for sure. You're telling me that you'll be true.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
They say, hurry, hurry, gonna count you love is it.
What they do is pick the most sensational, stories, sex, drugs, orgies, I mean, like, the whole article is supposed to be on the music scene, and he ends up writing about my sex life. Who cares about my sex life?
I do.
Oh, well, we just.
Are you a boy? Are you a girl? I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes.
And it happened again in the 1960s.
Have you ever been to 11? I think it's going to be like Easter and Christmas and New Year's and your birthday all together.
Push it too hard every night and day. You push it too hard, push it too hard. Hey, Joe, you gonna go with the money in your hand? Too many teardrops for one heart to be crying. Brown thing, you make my heart sing. Hey, well, I hate you with a passion, baby.
And alongside punks and skinheads, there are straight-looking punks, even long hair.
Punk seems cool, I've been into it for years,
Yeah, hold on. I have something to say here. Punk rock is not about long hair, all right?
Have to hide my face, go some other place.
You're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead and out of this world.
I can't get your love, I can't get affection. I'm not your stepping stone. I'm gonna tell you about my town. I'm gonna tell you a big fat story, baby. I got a little girl who's sweet as she can be.
The faces change, and the costumes, and the rap. Peace and freedom in the 60s, anarchy in the 80s.
Anarchy would be great after a while. At first it'd be chaos, but then after all the weak people died, then there'd be all strong people, and I think that it would be pretty nice.
Last night I saw a strange movie.
under the misconception that punk rock is a very specific sound or style. The Velvet Underground were absolutely punk in the fact that they showed no regard for the musical norms of their time, and in that process they created some of the most outright revolutionary experimental music the world has ever heard.
Gonna try for the kingdom if I can, 'cause it makes me feel like I'm a man. Then came the song, my baby does the hanky panky.
But the spirit of punk goes back to the anti-war hippies, the people who did all the revolt in 1968 in France, goes back to the Beat generation, the early rock and rollers. The spirit is where you find it, basically. And you'll find it in some of these movies, even if the people who made them don't look like punks. So it's where you find it.
Overthrow dictators if they're red. Fucking amen. CIA man.
Love you, mama, all night long. You ain't mama, gonna love you, baby, all night, yeah. I've gotta find myself some action to satisfy my soul.
There was very poor communication until we went into conflict. And it almost broke up our family.
In case you break down, it's always the same. Having a nervous breakdown, drive me insane.
Everyone is saying what to do, what to think, but to ask permission when you feel you want to blink.
Revolution, well, you know.
This is the first time the local news media have taken a close look at Boise's punk culture. It is the counterculture of our age. They're called punks. And depending on who you ask, there are between a couple dozen and several hundred of them in Boise. One thing is certain, though. They have created a world of their own here.
Come on, let me love. Come on, let me love. Come on, let me love.
Turn off the jams, motherfucker! Yes! It's alright.
This is not a fight. This is slam dancing. The number of injuries is surprisingly minute.
So messed up, I want you here. In my room, I want you here.
And the poor people want what the rich people's got. And the skinny people want what the fat people's got. And the fat people want what the skinny people's got.
Ooh, they're red, white, blue. And when the band plays, hey, blue sheep. Ooh, they want the Canada too.
Once a month or so at this American Legion Hall in West Boise, some punk bands get together with a couple hundred people. It's called a gig. The movement is called slam dancing, and it can get pretty acrobatic.
Hot scent. I'm walking in the hot scent. Making love on the hot scent. And I can feel the new tomorrow coming on. And I don't know why I have to make a song.
You wanna do what? You wanna do what? I told you what? I told you what? You wanna do what?
Some say it's a life after birth.
Punk proved to people, and it is now ingrained in people,
You call the people of the future generation.
Almost any afternoon or weekend, you'll also find punks skateboarding. Cliff Green, a student at Boise High, comes to this ramp a lot after school.
Skating was real popular in punk to begin with, and it's like I got into hardcore, and then someone, you know, skating just came with it.
Unique hairstyles like Cliff's are a trademark of punks.
Dirty sweet, you're my girl. Get it on, bang a gong, get it on. School's out forever. School went blown to pieces. Vicious, you hit me with a flower. You do it every hour. Hey baby, you're so vicious.
Even a Japanese kabuki record I remembered later when I started smoking pot in my hippie teenage years and thought, cool, this sounds like Hawkwind. I like this.
But she does all these things that I can't stand. I get jet, she stays with another man. She cried, I'm sad, but I won't. Oh, she cried. While the fly tried to break our bones, just the beer lights to fly, just so we mixed about his band.
This house may look like any other, but the punks call it a thrash house, kind of their equivalent to a hippie commune.
All about that personality crisis. You got it while it was hot. But frustration, naughty, that's what you got. I gotta tell you about the personality. Yeah. Well, my time come and my time's gone. To a one I belong. When I was down, you only go up. But now I guess I don't power enough.
You look funny. Is that purposeful?
Every night I hear his laughter echo through the lane. Frankenstein had nothing on him. Dracula was tame.
Tell me about punk rock, because I've read all kinds of reviews
about punk rock. Punk rock is a word used by dilettantes and heartless manipulators about music that takes up the energies and the bodies and the hearts and the souls and the time and the minds of young men who give what they have to it and give everything they have to it. And it's a term that's based on contempt. It's a term that's based in fashion, style, elitism, Satanism, and everything that's rotten about rock and roll.
Love in the middle of a firefight. Money gotta strike me blind. Somebody gotta save my soul. Cause it's sticking in my mind. I'm the world's forgotten boy.
You don't like the label. Is that right?
I don't like to hear it come out of someone's mouth.
Okay. Where do you like to hear it come out of?